Hey guys, Discord. This is actually a different video for us than what we typically do. I haven't played any matches today, honestly. This is my first video of being back in town, so that's cool. Today I just figured we do something nice and simple and easy. So today, I'm just gonna talk about killers that I feel like are easy to play for like beginners and even like veterans. So not Deathslinger. Don't don't pay any attention to the fact Deathslinger is here. That's just who I'm working on right now. So I'm gonna start with Trapper. Honestly, not sure what my mouse is doing. That's a little concerning. What what happened to my Trapper? He had unique stuff. What is happening? You good, Trapper? He's losing his power. Uh, oh yeah, that's the good stuff. But yeah, so the reason why I'm including Trapper as an easy killer, um, well, I don't even know how. What is happening? God, God, I don't. Oh my God. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. Dude, nothing's open. What is. What? Dude, that my door just closed itself. What? 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 I didn't even exit out of the. What is happening? While I'm. While my computer. What is. Dude, I think my computer's possessed. What is happening? This is. I'm gonna have to do some. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to do some stuff eventually to fix all that. But as I was saying, I feel like Trapper is an easy killer to start with, but honestly, he's probably the most challenging out of the easy killers that I could think of. Just because there's a lot going on with Trapper, right? He's already not good. He hasn't been. I mean, he's not great. He's fun though. He hasn't been touched in years, really. I don't know why they're so allergic to just giving him simple updates. One idea that I feel like is good is no one had the idea that they do something similar to what they did with maybe a friend of mine. I don't remember. Um, but I thought it was a good idea, so I don't know. While we're talking about Trapper, figured I'd talk about it. Basically, it was similar to what they did with Skull Merchant, where they made certain add-ons. They made where with Skull Merchant when they reworked her a little bit after her chapter release, made some of her add-ons base kit and then changed what those add-ons did. So this is similar to that. But what they do is, this is just what my friend told me was to add the ones that thicken, that like darken the bear traps. I forget what add-ons those are, but he has add-ons where the bear trap, once it's placed, it's darker, so it's supposed to be like harder to see, which I feel like could be good for the darker maps because it'd be even harder to see them. I don't know what's happening, and I think my computer's possessed. Well, you guys gotta watch D1sco's computer get possessed. So that's cool, right? That's a bonus. Yeah, I have a lot of crap to look into, apparently. I don't know what's happening. I'm getting nervous, honestly, because I don't know what's happening. I don't even know what this is. God, God, just let me. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to figure that out later. But basically, you make the things that darken the bear trap's base kit, and then another idea I thought that would be good for Trapper. Well, we'll get to the joke idea being Orange Health, which I still feel like would be amazing. Is you make his add-ons, at least one of them, the add-ons where you can hold extra bear trap space kit because, well, he holds two. He does hold two, but I think it would be good for him to hold more so you could kind of just place them wherever you want. Like, if you want a bear trap at the specific window or by the specific gen, but you only have two, like, you have to be very careful, and you probably won't be able to put a bear trap everywhere that you would want to. Whereas if you had a few more, like, base kit, it's not that big of a deal, though. That change isn't as much of a big deal. But yeah, I just feel like he's simple, he's easy. He's good. I mean, he's got some problems just because they haven't touched him in a long time, and so it's hard to, so it's hard to be like, oh my god, they keep changing Trapper. What is happening? Yeah, there we go. Stylish Trapper. But yeah, I just think it would be great to see this change now, but I just do. He's got good perks, right? If you're going for Trapper's Adept, I don't know, if you're playing Trapper and you have all three of his perks on, that build should help out. It's pretty good to be generous. I don't have his Adept on here still, so But I mean, think about it, right? He's got a nerving presence, so when you're within a certain distance to a survivor, it's an increased chance that survivor who's on the gen is going to get more skill checks, while they're repairing or healing, whatever. And then the success zones are even smaller, which honestly is pretty solid. Like, if you're a newer player, it could be rough for a newer player to like be able to do protect gens well. So that could be a good option. Like, as sort of a base kit, it kind of just happens passively. You know what I mean? Kind of thing, instead of you having to do something to use it. This is, oh yes, agitation. This is a fun one. So agitation could be good because you, let's say you, let's say you down someone, right? You're in that match, you down that, I don't know, Dwight. I don't know. He was the first person that I could come up with as a survivor. You down Dwight. Now you're holding him. You walk faster, which is good because since you walk faster, you can hook that Dwight quicker, right? And with your tear radius being slightly bigger, and if you have unnerving presence, again those skill check zones are, or whatever, and you would have more to work with. And then Brutal Strength, which is probably the most used Trapper perk that I've seen, for good reason. At least, I know Orange practically lives by this perk, and I don't blame him for thinking so. But, some of you might not notice, but before Project W, right, Wesker, Ada, Rebecca, it was it was a bit before that, but that was the Trapper perk I think of that really to buy it. It took longer to break pallets and stuff than it does now, but Brutal Strength is very fast, even though it's only green, but because ever since they made it 20% faster, sort of just by default, forever now, and you have Brutal, it's even faster. Great perk for newcomers, I feel like, because you could be in chase with Meg, you find Meg, you start chasing her. She's dropping pallets. You can break those pallets quicker, so that way you don't have to deal with them later on. But you can still do well. But I say he's the trickiest out of all the options because of what he does. Let's see if I have any of the add-ons. Just because there's a lot of thinking with him. He's simple and easy. He's got a good solid perk build. And you can really just run around hitting people without using his power, and I feel like you can still do well. basically done that many times that have got free of the 4 survivors in the trial. I know what I'm looking for. Yeah, so something like the Trapper bag. I mean, you already started. You know, you have to. It used to be one, but it can still be helpful. That's not exactly like the tar bottle, which darkens the appearance of those bear traps. Right, making that base kit would help him out a lot. In terms of add-ons for him, I mean, some of them are pretty good. It's just again, a lot of what makes Trapper difficult is the fact that you yourself are like placing them, right? You yourself have to be like, okay, where do I want these bear traps? Like, you kind of have to make good judgment calls and hope that they work out for people to step on them, because otherwise, yeah, they're not going to really help you out very much, are they? But if you can but if you can disregard how, the difficultness of placing traps, he's a solid first time character, and I wish they would touch him, but it's been a while since his last update. Let's move on to someone that I feel like is easier than Trapper, but still not amazing. Like, we're still not talking insanely easy. Like, these are definitely good starting picks and good for newer players. What is that in the corner? That I God, dude, I don't know what's happening. Again, my computer's possessed. Most characters won't be on the list. Some you could argue Skull Merchant belongs on this list, and I'm not gonna put her on this list in this rant. Maybe in a part 2 or something. But for the time being, I feel like Skull Merchant shouldn't be, just because while they did change her and she's a lot better now, there's still some thinking you gotta do there. I probably shouldn't have even put Trapper on this list, but I'm definitely not putting Wesker on this list. That's a little too. Here we go, boys. This is okay. Hear me out. Hear me out. Nemesis deserves to be on this list because Nemesis, unlike any other killer besides maybe Twins and Night, but theirs is different. Nemesis has passive helpers. He has 2 zombies that will passively help you. While the AI for the zombies is not great, he is a Hulk. You feel powerful playing him. He punches survivors. He's great. I feel like he's solid for first-time players because he honestly is just solid. He's a great character. Oh yes, 2 of his perks equipped. Orange got his add up because of course he did. He did, so he's got pretty good add-ons, and they even changed his add-ons for zombies. He changed the ones that like decrease the amount of time it takes for a zombie to spawn in, and like the progress, and increased the progress. The add-ons also increase the progress that a survivor gives to you going for the tier 3 whip. So, but with the rework, that's even faster now because you get more progress. But yeah, so he's got a whip. The most challenging thing was Nemesis here, right? Before we get to his free perks, because again, if you're playing him with his free perks sort of as that character's in a way kind of intended, obviously you can use any perk, but like if you're going for the true character experience, I feel like it is good to essentially have the added build just so you can like get a feel for how their perks like work, and also it makes you feel more like you're playing the character. But what's interesting about him is the hardest thing with him is his whip, right? It's very hard to judge distance on it sometimes. Well, at least for me it is. But and stuff. But like one thing is a complaint. But again, the zombie helpers. Let's go back to the zombie helpers first. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. Well, they don't have the best AI, and they're probably not going to hit survivors most of the time. They can be very useful for information because, right, zombies, they have a different walking animation compared to when they're walking towards the survivor. So if you're, I don't know, playing Nemesis and there's someone like me that's just, you know, walking around trying to get, because me and Orange have names for the zombies, and I always try to, oh, they're cool. But like if you see a zombie doing a different animation all of a sudden, that means they found somebody. So that could be good intel, right? That could be good info for a new player. You can maybe sneak up on them. You know, you can start like walking towards where that zombie is. You have an idea of where at least one survivor is. That's of course assuming you're not in a chase, in which case you are, obviously deal with whoever you're chasing. Um, but yeah, like, and then you can try to make judgment calls for the whip, but it might take a bit for you to get good with the whip. But once you're good with like the whip, as well as like getting information from him and just playing well, I feel like he deserves to be here on this list. He's just solid, a solid character. Let me find the perk that is not equipped on him, because he's got the other two perks equipped right now and not the other one. I'm fighting every character but Nemesis today. That's kind of scary. Scott, they want. Okay. I had to do a. So I think it's Hysteria that he doesn't have on him. Okay, we'll start with Hysteria. Start with Hysteria. That's an interesting one. I feel like we should start with this one. It seemed like the most confusing, so we're gonna start with Hysteria. Again, this is if you're basically playing Adept, right? If you're playing the character as it's intended. A Trapper, I feel like, is good for that because he has a good, solid build you could put on really any character and be useful. But Hysteria is so, Survivor. You you hit that Dwight in the face with your fist because he literally punches people. So you hit Dwight square in the chest with your giant fist. I mean, just look at that fist. Like that's gonna hurt. Especially for this guy, that's gonna hurt. But yeah, so you hit Dwight. Um, if anyone else is injured, they suffer from Oblivious. So if you have everybody but one person injured and you nail that the healthy person, the person who hasn't been hit yet, now for 20 seconds everybody's gonna have Oblivious. It doesn't sound the best, but this is the part that could help out. Oblivious will prevent them from hearing or being affected by your tier 80, so they just won't hear it, which could be a good thing if they're like the type of players that aren't really paying attention. They're like more focused on the gen than you, because then you could like sneak up on them, maybe rip them off the gen, or at least hit them, scare them a little bit. That could be useful. That's brutal. Alright, we'll do Eruption because Eruption is also probably a bit complicated. Eruption's interesting because, so, you chase someone off of the gen and you hit it, right? You hit this generator. So now, and you specifically have to damage it, so you see its aura in yellow. So now, you hit Dwight twice and now that he's on the floor bleeding, every single generator you affected. So if you end up hitting like multiple gens before you put someone in dying state, all of them will explode. The explosion, they already lost 10% of progress that they had already. They're also regressing now, right? So explosion, they lose 10%. If the gen's about to be finished, that's a lot more progress compared to if it's, not all you've done. Obviously, the 10% there could vary. Maybe I should probably, let's just open the thing. This thing, because it'll show the purples. Right. So, like, Hysteria has 30 seconds of Oblivious instead of the 20 seconds I talked about. And then this is still 10% worth of progress. But, and of course that just very good, but this is the interesting part about Eruption. if there's any survivor that's repairing that gen when you explode it, they will scream and you will see their aura for 12 seconds. So if you're paying attention, right, you're paying attention, you hear your gen go off, boom, go for it, because you're going to see their aura for 12 seconds, go for it. Like, try to get that person kind of thing. And if you've gotten pretty, at least decent with the whip, you're going to do pretty well. Even if you don't use the whip, I feel like you're still going to do pretty well. This, now, last but certainly not least, Lethal Pursuer. This perk, solid. It's just solid in general. I've gone up against a lot of Lethal Pursuers the last few days or so. It's been rough, but been some rough batches, but that's besides the point. This one is cool because, so as soon as the trial starts, you see the aura of everybody for 9 seconds. Yeah, literally as soon as the match starts, you see all 4 of them for 9 seconds. That's pretty crazy. Now, what I suggest you do, right, if you have this perk, is definitely pay attention as soon as the match starts, and at least pick one person. But if there's a way you could, but if you see like a chance that you could get multiple people, obviously don't risk it if it changes. But just like find, use the perk to find the aura of somebody and go get them. And then anytime that their aura is shown, so let's say you use Eruption, right? You hit that gen, someone's honest, it's revealed. Now instead of 12 seconds, you see their aura for 14 because it increases the amount of time. If you have a perk that will let you see survivor auras, it's increased by 2 seconds. So that's pretty cool. I know that got changed because of character we're not going to be talking about, because they're way too complicated to be on this list, like way too complicated. But yeah, Nemesis and Trapper are probably 2 of the more difficult characters I could talk about. And if you yourself put Skullmerch on that list, then maybe all 3 of them. I thought about playing Skullmerch and Deonrio or Sadako on this list. I didn't feel like I could, We're gonna, okay, hear me out, okay, just hear me out. I don't want any angry, oh, that's cool. Okay, we're gonna have Trickster look like that for the, do I have this, oh, I do have the bat, okay, oh yeah, he's stripped out of his mind. We're gonna have Trickster look like that, but I still have his ad up. That makes this easy. But hear me out. Some people probably wouldn't include Trickster. I probably shouldn't have. But hear me out, okay? So Trickster throws knives at people. He starts with 44 blade. He starts with 44 knives if you don't, do anything. Like if you don't have any add-ons, you have 44 knives. What's interesting about him and why I feel like he should be on this list of easy characters is because basically, because you have 4 knives, it's really easy to just start throwing them, and Trickster is a devastating character. If you can get good with Trickster, you are a force to be reckoned with, right? Playing him at the beginning might be rough because, you have to be smart about how you throw the knives. Advice I can give you for throwing the knives would be to make sure there's nothing in between you and that survivor when you're throwing them. And also, like, if they're working on a gen, that could be a good time to just start throwing some knives, because even if you don't hit them, they'll hear the sound that you're just throwing knives at them and will probably run. If you're in a chase with that survivor and it's like sort of an open part where you're just kind of behind them, I would definitely throw knives at that point, because as long as you're aiming like on them, then you will probably put them into the dying state pretty quickly if you're just nailing them with knives. Because you hit a certain number of knives, and then the next knife would injure them. So then, if you keep just machine gunning those knives out, the health bars are going to drop. Now, what does suck about him, this is a big con with Trickster, is because he reloads using lockers and he grabs all the knives inside locker, unlike Huntress, another character who needs to grab something from locker. With Huntress, she just grabs like, she, I believe Huntress has multiples she can grab from a locker. Trickster, you go to that locker, you reload. You can no longer use that locker to reload unless if knives just magically respawn over time. I don't think it does. Another interesting thing with him that I rarely see anybody ever get, but hey, it's something, is main event. And basically how that works is every single knife you hit throughout the entire triangle will charge up meter for that. If you manage to get main event, which isn't, I rarely see it, so it's not likely, but if you can pull it off and and you have it, press the ability button and you have unlimited knives. And what that means is you're just keep throwing because you have unlimited knives for a few seconds. He throws faster in that mode. He has unlimited knives, and his movement speed does not decrease because like normally if you're throwing knives, his movement speed kind of decreases after the throws. So you are moving at his normal pace, which is pretty quick. He's a solid character. Um, you know, so yeah, Trickster. Right, you move the same speed as you're throwing those unlimited knives with that increased throw rate as well. You can cancel it if you need to, which will reset it. But yeah, Trickster I feel like is another difficult character, but he's pretty solid, right? If he's pretty solid, and it helps that he has so many knives unlike Huntress, because while Huntress takes a complete health state, you have to be way more like. I feel like Huntress is a bit more advanced than Trickster, because with Huntress you don't have as many to throw, so you need to be a lot more mindful of how you throw them. But Krug, well, so let's get to his perks now, because I feel like they're also pretty solid, especially if you're playing him. Crowd control is interesting. It's a hex totem, so if if the survivors see it and cleanse it, you will no longer have access to it. But while you do have access to it, it will block a window while a survivor rushes it. So so basically you're I don't know, you're chasing Fang Man, and she like vaults over a window. That window is now blocked for that survivor for a good amount of seconds too, which is good. Starstruck is one that I've seen tricksters get a lot of value out of at least activating it, because basically Starstruck is as soon as you you down Claudette. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking names of it. You down Claudette, and as soon as you are carrying her, everyone else who is in, like any other survivors that are just in your terror race chilling, kind of waiting to unhook them or whatever, are now exposed. That's the New Year mask, because that skin is so good. So now they're exposed. So for a good amount of time, they're exposed. So if you can find that person and you hit them, they immediately go down, which is helpful. But again, kind of situational. That's probably not the best of its three. That's the most situational, but it's very solid. Especially if you play him, because his terrace is big enough that you can get survive that. No Way Out is an interesting one as well, because No Way Out activates if the exit gates have been powered. And this perk, right, No Way Out is great for how I play Freddy. If you don't know, I am a Freddy main. I'm just very bad as killer, so I struggle a lot more than, say, Orange, the other half of this channel, who is pretty good at most killers. Like, he can do well as most killers. There's a few he can't do great as that he needs a lot more practice with to get even decent. But yeah, but this is good for someone like me who kind of struggles. I can do well as Freddy and no one else, but I still struggle. But basically, so if the exit gates get powered, right, you're throwing your knives, you're doing all that you can here, they're just gently going too quickly. Fear not. if you have no way out, because now if a survivor, like, they get to the exit gate and start pulling at it, boom, they're now blocked. You get a loud notification out there, so I would definitely recommend going towards there, because sometimes survivors will just kind of chill at the gate and wait for it. It could also be good because you never know, there could be multiple people there. Definitely keep an eye out for that if you're playing some trickster and you got that perk, or playing anybody with that perk. Um, Also, and the entity blocks the switches, right? The lever that you pull down for um, a good amount of seconds, and then for each token you have, he has there's 6 seconds, and I will mention now the way you get tokens for No Way Out, assuming you have No Way Out, otherwise you obviously don't get tokens for it, is from hooking Survivor for the first time. So if you hook all 4 survivors at least once, you're getting the most seconds possible. But yeah, these are kind of the reasons why I feel like Trickster could be good for beginners. Him, Trapper, and Nemesis are probably going to be some of the harder ones you're going to hear me talk about. But at the same time, if you know what you're doing and you can play, and you are smart about like how you play them, like if you're a beginner, obviously you're not going to fully know, but just know they are characters you can start with. They might be a little rough. Trickster might be a bit easier because you have so many knives and he's just a lot of fun. But just remember that, just keep what I'm saying in mind. Is what I'm saying. Honestly, out of everyone we're seeing, I talked about 2 people. I thought about putting good old Sadako here. She's definitely not easy though, and I thought about School Merchant, but yeah, I'm still missing the weapon for this outfit, but it's pretty good. But the thing with School Merchant, should I put her on the list? I don't even know. I on one hand I want to, on one hand I don't. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to. If you guys want a part 2 or want me to include School Merchant, let me know, and I'll probably make that like a separate video or something. Most of the characters that I'm saying are difficult. Fuck. Oh, okay, we're gonna go. Okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go the one only Legion here. Legion, I feel like ever since Legion here came out, I feel like Legion has always been a solid beginner character. Legion is pretty simple, a lot of fun, and playing Legion is great, right? So basically, how Legion works is your power takes some time to recharge, but it's called the Feral Frenzy. So basically, what you do is when you trigger it, you run very quickly, right? Everything on the screen will show it. You will be moving faster. You also hold your knife up, and what you want to do is you want to hit us at least. You want to hit a survivor. Sometimes, in the perk description, in the power description here, it's basically saying to chain it. You won't always be able to chain it, but if there's multiple survivors like in that area, definitely try to chain it, because chaining it would be better. Because what happens is, let's say you do Feral Frenzy and you only find Dwight. If you hit Dwight, now he's deep wound. And if he's the only person you find, a lot of people will just keep hitting them with the power. Like literally just keep running into him with Feral Frenzy. It doesn't do anything to my knowledge if you keep doing it, but I mean, hey, you can keep hitting them while you wait for you to stop running quickly. But if there's multiple people, definitely try to hit the multiple people, because they will all get deep wounds, which will be helpful. And also, if you hit enough of them, which I believe is 4, and then on the 5th one, yeah, if you hit all 4 survivors and then hit another one, they immediately go down, which is pretty crazy to think about. Legion is also faster at doing stuff in this mode. If Dwight drops a pallet and you're in Feral Frenzy, you can slide over the pallet really quickly. There's add-ons where after you're done sliding, that pallet breaks. Things to think about. But yeah, because they call it the additional ability Palette Vault. And basically, you press the interactive button while you're running fast, and you do a pallet vault at a drop pallet. You're the only killer that will like pallet vault. Legion's the only one. And basically, you slide over the pallet really quickly, which is great. And then there's Feral Slash, which is interesting because that one is basically while you're doing Feral Frenzy, you press the attack button while you're doing it, which is how you apply Deep Wound. I mentioned that Feral Frenzy is just running quickly, but right, if you press the attack button while you're running quickly, and you hit them, they get Deep Wounds, which means that that they that if they do nothing, then they just go down, or they do something and they're still injured, kind of thing. It can be helpful. And then, although when you hit a survivor, so you hit one, you're getting. Sorry about that, young guys. Your gauge for Feral Frenzy resets, or it refills, so you have more time that you can use it with, and then if there's survivors in your terrace that don't have Deep Wounds, you will get a killer instinct notification. So definitely pay attention to those, and then obviously go over there and hit them, give them that Deep Wound, and then if you hit somebody, this is how it normally works. If you hit somebody while you're in Feral Frenzy, it ends immediately, and if you do it and it does not just end, the movement speed of Legion is increased by 0.2 meters a second, which is pretty fast for the remainder of it, so pretty quickly. And the 5th consecutive Feral Slash, so if you somehow hit all 4 survivors, pretty tricky to do, but if you can pull it off, hitting all 4 survivors so they have Deep Wound within the same Feral Frenzy, that's the tricky part. You need to be doing the same Feral Frenzy. You can't let that timer run out and then do it again for this to work. Whoever the 5th person you hit is, they're in the dying state, and it will always just end your frenzy. But it's very solid. It's very good for beginners because of how much faster you are. It's very easy to catch up to survivors quickly. You can hit them. There are some downsides with Feral Frenzy, like you need to remember to hit the attack button when you get close enough to them. But it's solid for beginners because you can get faster, because you're faster when you're using it. So you can patrol exit gates a little easier. You can also make up distance in a chase quicker if you're just using it as that. But yeah, I feel like Legion definitely deserves to be on this list and of easy characters. So in the video, in this video as well, just because of how easy they are, honestly. Solid pick for new players. Legion has pretty much always been. Iron Maiden is an interesting perk. You might not get value out of it on Legion, but on characters like Trickster, who we already mentioned, Iron Maiden is great for him, and Huntress as well. Those two benefit the most from Iron Maiden are Legion and Huntress, or not Legion and Huntress, Trickster and Huntress. Although Legion anyone can get use out of it, really. Basically, you open lockers faster. So if a survivor happens to go in the locker, which isn't, from what I've seen, it's not too likely, but it can happen. When they exit that locker, they get exposed, and they scream, which will reveal their location for a few seconds. So if you happen to notice that, if you're not already chasing them or something, you happen to notice that, you keep, as long as you get there fast enough and you hit them, they will go down immediately, even if they're healthy, assuming that they still have the exposed timer. So while Iron Maiden is, again, pretty much is best used on 2 characters, because of the fact that they open lockers faster and their powers involve lockers. If you're playing Trickster, like we mentioned earlier, maybe consider working on Legion for one perk, and then just have fun. I'm looking for the other one, and I can't find it, so bear with me. Macrit, there we are. I found it. Macrit is also pretty solid for beginners, in my opinion, because while you're carrying someone, right? So you're carrying Jake to a hook. You have no cooldown for missed basic attacks, and if you do manage to hit another, oh my god, not sure what's happening. I'm gonna have to look into that because my computer is possessed. So that's fine. But there it is. So basically, you're holding Jake, going to that like Dwight is like body blocking, and you manage to successfully hit Dwight. It will pause the wiggle timer for Jake for a few seconds. So basically, if someone's body blocking and you just keep hitting them because you have no cooldown with missed basic attacks, you will just keep pausing the timer. The pauser will keep getting paused for however many seconds. And yeah, so, they're just kind of stuck being carried. Discordance, the third Legion perk, is interesting one, but pretty good. So basically, you see any generator within a certain range that's being repaired by 2 or more survivors will be highlighted for you. You will also get a loud noise notification, again only if you're using this perk, and at the generator. So then the aura remain for a few seconds after it's either no longer in that range or the survivors leave. So this could be good. This could be good for finding people at gens like Legion, and then you can hit them and just sort of like kind of know, okay, there's at least 2 people here, sort of thing. But yeah, Legion is honestly another solid pick. Another solid pick, to all admit, this one is probably another rough one, at least it can be, is Ghostface. My boy. God, I love looking at him do stuff. Oh yeah. Because Ghostface, he's one of 2 side characters, and you will probably see both on this list. Well, teaser for the other one. But basically, his power is called Night Shroud. So basically, when the gauge around the power icon when you're in a match is full, you get undetectable, right? You get undetectable, and there's add-ons of his that changes it. But normally, if you perform a basic attack, it depletes the power gauge. You no longer have it, and it's good because survivors who are close, if they see you, they can try to reveal you, and if they pull it off, then you don't have. Then it fully depletes that gauge, and it automatically just deactivates it. And then, for a very short duration, you will be able to see that survivor's current location was Killer Instinct. So if you are playing Ghostface and someone reveals you, make sure to pay attention for that Killer Instinct, because it will tell you who did it, and you can go for that person. His special ability Stalk, he has 2 special abilities, Crouch and Stalk. We're gonna get to both. Both of them I feel like could be pretty useful for beginners as long as you know how to do the buttons and stuff. Because Stalk is while you're in Night Shroud, you want to hold down the power button. Will basically, will make the survivors exposed, so then you can hit them once and they go down. But what's interesting about Ghostface is you want to try to hide behind something, right? So you want to try to find a wall or something that's by the survivors that you can still sort of look at them from, because if you're behind something and looking at survivors, right, and you're looking at the people doing the gen or whatever, your stock is a faster rate. So if they are in a gen and you manage and you're like, hiding behind something, probably using both of the special abilities, we'll get to the other one. They will get to that exposed stat. They will get to the exposed. Um, they will get exposed quicker, so then you can just down them. And then if you by completing stock progress, it will mark them. In addition to playing exposed, so basically, mark is a limited amount of time, and they cannot reveal you. So you want to try to hit that down survivor though, because if they were now marked, you can no longer. They're no longer exposed. His other special ability is crouch. Basically, you press the active ability button and now you're crouching. You press it again while crouched to stand back up, and you move at a slower speed while crouched. But crouched is good for combining crouch and stalk is good, especially if you're like leaning over cover. A lot of Ghostface players like to crouch and then like lean over something because it makes them harder to see. So, and in addition to obviously you get them faster. Fear the Chase is, we'll get to perks now. Ghostface is tricky because, there's a lot of stuff survivors can do to ruin your day, but hey, I feel like he could be a good option for new players. It just might be a little rough at first. But basically, Fear the Chase it's a obsession perk. So basically, the obsession is the person that has all the crazy stuff by their picture, like all the crazy stuff. Yep, very noticeable. Whenever you hook that person, you get a token. I'm not sure what. So if you hook that person 3 times, you get a lot of tokens, kind of thing. And then what the tokens decrease your tear radius by 4 meters while you're in a chase specifically, which would be good. And then whenever somebody rescues the obsession, they now become the obsession. So it can be good because it decreases your tear radius and stuff, so it's hard to notice you like when you're in chase and stuff. I'm all ears. Another perk of his is a aura reading perk. So basically, any survivor that's performing a rushed action, maybe trying to get to a gen a little quicker or something, their aura will be revealed for you for a few seconds. And they have to be within a certain amount of meters from your location. So that one can be good because you will see the aura of someone just running around and you can, try to engage them. And then Thrilling Tremors, his third perk, is also pretty solid. Because that one is, you pick up, I'm running out of names here, but you pick up a survivor, and all the generators that are not being repaired by a survivor, so any gens that nobody's on, are now blocked and cannot be repaired for a certain amount of seconds, and you can see their aura in white. But yeah, so those are kind of reasons why I feel like Ghostface is pretty easy. He's probably one of the rougher ones, but he is pretty easy. A lot of maps have stuff he can hide behind, so, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I've thought about, I'm going back and forth on Pig a lot, just like with Skull Merchant. Because in some ways, yeah, Pig is pretty simple and easy, but but Pig might be a little too complex, so we're not going to go over her. Another easy character could be Doctor. Doctor is good at least against easy survivors. He is pretty tricky though. God, it's such a good skin. But anyways, Doctor, I'll put Doctor on the list. Why not? We'll add Doctor to this ever expanding list because he's interesting. His power is called Static Shock Therapy or Static Blast. Static Shock Blast affects your whole tear radius. So if you have there's perks that increase that. So if you have one of those and then you use Static Shock, you can affect a lot more people because you have more chances to it. Basically, and then Shock Therapy is he kind of shoots it out in front of him. Yeah, so with Shock Therapy, you press and hold the power button to perform Shock Therapy. So you unleash a ranged shock attack, which is in front of you, on the ground, and anyone that's struck by it, they gain increased madness, and it takes a certain amount of madness to reach every state. And any interactions they're trying to perform when you shock them, shock therapy is now interrupted. So if they're trying to give her pallet and you manage to hit them with shock therapy, like while they're messing with it, they're just not doing that anymore, so you can get free hits that way. And it also negates the oblivious status effect, so there's that. And then Static Blast is you press and hold the active ability button to perform a Static Blast, which causes all survivors within your terrace to scream and gain increased madness. And Static Blast can only be activated when not on cooldown because it has a cooldown. And it also negates the oblivious status effect. But basically what madness does is at tier 1, so as soon as you shock them, it causes them to scream once, which will reveal their positions if you hear the scream. And it affects skill check placements and directions a little bit. At tier 2, so you're able to shock that person a bit more, so now they've reached madness 2. It causes them to scream once, and they will now start experiencing hallucinations, so they will now start seeing illusionary doctors. So, there'll just be doctors randomly popping up in places. Also, Madness 1 and 2, survivors can't get rid of. It's only until you get to Madness 3, but we'll get there. So that could be good. It also affects skill check placement and direction more, like it'll happen more often. Madness 3 will cause them to scream intermittently in the experience, so they will see the hallucinations of the illusionary doctor. They could also see the your terrace, they'll just see a fake tear radius, like a fake like a red stain, like they'll see a fake red sort of glow on them. Don't know if that one's base kit or just from certain add-ons, but that is a possibility. It tremendously affects the skill check placement direction, and they cannot heal, repair, sabotage, unlock, cleanse, or use items until they successfully step out of it, which is basically they crouch and they're kind of holding their head, and you have to do skill checks. If you fail a skill check, you scream. If you don't fail a skill check, you obviously don't scream. And if you do fail a skill check to step out of it, you have to retry. So, but then when they complete the step out of it action, they go back to tier Madness 1. So once you get everybody to at least Madness 1, they can't get rid of Madness. So that could be pretty helpful, which is why I'm kind of been back and forth with him, but I do feel like he should be on the list. Overcharge. A doctor with overcharge can be very terrifying because you can free gen pretty well. It just prolongs matches really well, but that's because overcharge is accurate from hitting a gen. So you go to the gen, you kick it. I believe doctor kicks them. The next person that interacts with it gets a very difficult skill check. It's difficult because it's a very small. It's crazy how small the zone is. Like it's smaller than even agitation, I believe. Well, they might be about the same size, but agitation has the great skill check zone, and overcharge does not. And if you fail that skill check, it's an additional 4% loss of progress on that gen, in addition to how much it's lost from it regressing. If you do successfully hit that skill check, the generator will not explode. Because if you fail it, it explodes. If you fail the skill check working on it normally. But you don't get any increased progress for doing it. And then after it's applied to a generator, so after you kick a generator and you have overcharge, its regression speed is increased from 55% normal to, however much yours is. But basically, it loses more progress over time. His other perks, Monitor and Abuse. Monitor and Abuse is pretty good because while you're in a chase, your Terrace is increased, which allows you to hit more Shock Therapies and obviously Stag Blast. And otherwise, your tear radius is decreased by 8 meters, and your field of view is also increased by 10 degrees. So you can see better, and also, if you're not in chase, you're a bit more sneakier. And if you are in chase, it's longer, but you can get more value out of Static Blast and stuff. Overwhelming Presence is another pretty solid perk for beginners and even not beginners, because this one is basically anyone that's in your tear radius suffers from inefficiency, which basically means that their consumption rates are increased. So they run out of charges on their item quicker. If they have a toolbox and they're in your tear radius, that toolbox gets used up way faster, stuff like that. So yeah, these are kind of the reasons why Doctor's on this list. He can be a bit tricky at times, though. Now we're gonna get to, in my opinion, some of the in addition to Legion, some of the easiest characters in the entire game for a beginner. And I'm saying in addition to Legion because Legion is also on this list. We just talked about Legion earlier. So we're gonna start with we're gonna start with Bubba. I could really start with any of them. Bubba is one of the four because while Bubba is one of two characters to have a chainsaw, he sweeps it, right? He moves his chainsaw back and forth. The other character of the chainsaw, the Hillbilly, or Billy as most players call him, he runs straight forward with it. So that sweeping makes it easier to hit people. And if you're in a chase with someone and you're behind them, sometimes you can sometimes it's a good idea to just start swinging the chainsaw and you can hit that person. Yeah, but basically you have free charges normally. You press and hold the power button to consume one charge, and will start swinging it around for the duration of it. And you can hit in addition to it being easier to hit, you can hit multiple people with it. People that are hit with the sweep are immediately downed, so there's as well. And then you have to use the charge to extend the length of the chainsaw sweep. So basically, that's the part that Orange forgets about a lot. But basically, when you're playing Bubba and you're sweeping that chainsaw, you have to remember to use a charge. So you need to remember to press and hold the button, the power button again, to consume another charge so you can keep sweeping it. Doing that incurs a slightly longer cooldown, but it's also could be useful to hit survivors easier. Also, the chainsaw charges replenish when it's not in use. So if you're not using your chainsaw, you will regain your charges, which is good. And then there's a tantrum meter. The tantrum meter slowly fills when you are revving his chainsaw. Once that meter is full from just revving it, or after you hit an object, most likely you're going to hit an object. It's a little tricky sometimes to not hit an object with this chainsaw. During, the chainsaw sweep, he will unleash Tantrum. And the Tantrum will damage any survivors around him and puts them into the dying state. So the Tantrum duration increases for each charge that had been used during the chainsaw sweep. So if you used all three, it's now longer to be in it. And Tantrum is a big downside of his power. It sounds good, but we'll get to why. Any remaining charges, yeah, you just lose those. Also, it's during a tantrum, your movement speed is really decreased, and you really feel it. It is so noticeable. Like it's so decreased. It's kind of crazy. That's a big reason why it's not really useful. Is because of how slow you are. It also decreases when the chainsaw is not in use and completely depletes during a chainsaw sweep. Tantrum meter, of course. But it's also just like you're swinging the chainsaw around, but you're because of how slow you are, it's so difficult to hit. So that's kind of why Bubba. That's kind of the biggest drawback of his power. I forget what build he even has on right now. Okay, he has the backpack build basically. Okay, this is the build that has his actual perks. So knockout is one of his perks. It can be good, but also not that helpful at the same time. Because basically what this does is survivors that you put into the dying state, specifically into the dying state, um, by your basic attack. So for him, it's that hammer he's holding over his shoulder. Um, they're not revealed to other survivors when they are standing outside of a certain meter range. They just like won't be able to see the aura of them going down and stuff. And then they crawl slower for a certain amount of seconds. The recovery speed is also reduced, so when you're holding the button to recover, that's reduced. And they have blindness during that, so it's hard to see like stuff well. It can be useful, but it can also not be useful. You know, it's pretty solid. Barbecue and chili, which got a pretty big nerf at one point. It used to give you a lot of blood points, which is why most people used it. They got rid of the blood point part, but it's still solid. Because the one how this one works is after you hook a survivor, you can see everyone else's aura for 4 seconds when they are further than 50 meters from the person you hook. So you can use that where you can hook somebody and then use that for information if they're farther away than you by a certain amount. You can start going towards them. Franklin's Demise is a very solid perk and kind of a must-have for a lot of builds because when you hit somebody with your basic attack, that survivor then just drops their item, and while it's on the ground, it takes a certain amount of seconds for it to fully lose all of its charges if you just never pick it up. And you can also see the items on the ground within a certain amount of meters by a white aura, and it slowly fades to red until it no longer has charges. So it's very useful against people with like flashlights or just a lot of items. He's got solid add-ons. Bubba is by far definitely deserving of being one of the 4 easiest. Despite his drawback. The next character we're going to talk about is the man, the myth, the legend, Freddy, my main. I don't. Oh, it's on Oni. Okay, I was confused why I was saying Curse Legacy chapter. It's because I'm going to throw in character. I think Freddy power kind of sucks, but that's not why he's good. That's not why he's on the list, though. Really, basically, his power is you start in the dream world. You're always in the dream world. Survivors start in the normal world. Survivors that are awake will hear your terror radius, and you will see, and they can see you within a certain amount of meters, and then they can intermittently see you in a certain range of meters, and then they just can't see you after that. You also passively put people into the dream world, which is basically them sleeping, and that's over a span of 60 seconds, and immediately, or you can immediately hit them with your basic attack and put them into it. And in that dream world, they are afflicted with oblivious while they're asleep, so they can't hear your terrors or anything. And they can be affected by dream snares, which you can also change to dream palettes based off of some add-ons. We'll get to those. They wake up by failing a skill check on gens, but there is an add-on that makes it so that's not the case. So that could be pretty good for him. You can have another survivor wake you up, or by grabbing those alarm clocks that are on the map. It says by using alarm clocks they find, but it shows you an aura, the only one you can use. So that's fun. Each successive wake up action takes twice as long, and alarm clocks provide survivors with immunity to sleep for 30 seconds. So the dream snares are you hold down the power button, and he moves his hand sort of up, like he moves not the glove hand, the normal hand. He moves that up into like a fist, and he's like, he kind of holds his hand up, and then when you place it, he moves his hand to a fist, and this little sort of red puddle looking thing appears. And that little puddle thing, if a survivor happens to step on it, you will hear sort of some screaming. It shows like an aura. They also are afflicted was hindered shortly after touching it. And then the add-ons that turn them into dream palettes are basically at certain palette locations in the dream world there will now be a palette which you can see, and those palettes don't stun you. He also has dream tokens, which is you start the match with 5 dream tokens to use for placing the dream snares. So basically, you can start with 5. You start with 5 basically, but then when all of them are spent, your oldest dream snare is destroyed when you place a new one. So there's that. He also has dream projection. Dream projection is a difficult one to know when to use, but it is a very important and key part of his power, because you hold the active ability button and you can teleport to a generator in your view. And for a survivor in the dream world, that cooldown is reduced for dream protection because it's under a cooldown, whereas the dream snares just become infinite. They just remove the oldest one. So yeah, he's very solid. His add-ons are pretty solid too. They did. That's kind of unfortunate timing to get an invite. Basically, they did buff his 2 blindness add-ons. They last longer now. And honestly, his perk build is pretty solid. I still need to get him off of adept build. Basically, he has Blood Warden, which is, as soon as the exit gates are open, specifically open, it activates. So the auras of any survivor that's in those exit gates will be revealed to you. And then once per match, if you hook a survivor while it's active, the entity will block the exit gates for 40 seconds, for a certain amount of seconds. So basically, if you manage to hit a survivor during the endgame collapse, then the gates, and you hook them, then the gates are just blocked for everybody for some good amount of seconds, which is good. That one's pretty tricky though. And then there's Fire Up, which is pretty solid. Basically, Fire Up is anytime a gen finishes, right? So when they go from 5 gens to 4, the survivors, after finishing gens, you get strong. Fire Up gets stronger, which makes you stronger. You gain a 3.5% stackable buff every time they finish it to a maximum of whatever all 5 gens are. Not sure how big of a buff that is, but it's a pretty big buff. And it basically now you have a speed boot. You have a speed bonus to picking up a survivor, dropping a survivor, vaulting, damaging generators, and breaking pallets and breakable walls for the remainder of the trial. So basically, you get faster at doing stuff. It's very useful. And then there's Remember Me. Remember Me is basically you become obsessed with one survivor. Each time that survivor loses the health state, you increase the opening time for the exit gates by 4 seconds, right, up to a maximum of whatever. So basically, the more your obsession loses health states, the longer it takes to open the exit gates. But your obsession is the only one not affected by it, so, So, that's fun. But yeah, he's very solid. He's very simple. It's very easy to just chase people around and do well as them. another easy and simple one here is the one only Michael Myers, because Michael Myers, just like Ghostface, he stalks, but he stalks differently. So basically, for Michael here, his power is called Evil Within. At Evil Within 1, I believe you'll see a little um you are undetectable. You have literally zero tear radius when you're zero. Evil Within 1, your movement speed is decreased though, and your basic attacks have a decreased launch. At Evil Within 2, you're basically a normal character at Evil Within 2. So if you stalk some people and you don't have an add-on that locks you at Evil Within 1 and you hit 2, just think of yourself as like a normal character. You will never lose Evil Within 2 once you hit it, and you will never go back to Evil Within 1. You will always be Evil Within 2. So just think normal character. Evil Within 3 is all survivors are suffered from the exposed status effect. He also will raise his knife in Evil Within 3. It lasts for 60 seconds normally, and then it goes back to 2. And you just, hit survivors with your knife. You have an increased lunge, so you're faster at lunging and stuff, which is great. I don't know why it doesn't talk about that, but yeah, you have a longer lunge at Evil Within 3, which is very useful. The special ability is also stalk, which you press and hold the power button to stalk survivors. All visible survivors will stalking survivors builds up your progress through the Evil Within tiers. But if I remember correctly, if you're stalking multiple people, only one of them gives you progress. So there's that. His perks, he's got one that is considered terrible, but the other two are considered good. So I don't know how to feel about that. Just power wise, he's very simple and easy, but he's also super fun and very dangerous. And if you're a newcomer player, he could be a good option to start with. Basically, save the best for last is probably his best perk, because you become obsessed with it's another obsession perk. So whatever your obsession is, you go. But basically, each time you hit someone that is not your obsession, you gain a token. So you hit the other 3 survivors. Each token is a stackable decrease towards your towards the cooldown of hitting someone, and you can earn up to a certain amount of tokens. But if you hit an obsession with a basic attack, you lose tokens. And if your obsession is sacrificed or killed, you no longer gain tokens. Play with your foods, the other good one, is another obsession perk, but this time, anytime you are chasing your obsession and you just let them go, OFO says literally and let them escape, so you just let them leave the chase, you receive a token up to a maximum of however many tokens. Those tokens increase your movement speed by however much amount, but when you perform a basic attack or a special attack, you lose a token. So that one can be pretty good. And now we get to the bad one, which is called Dying Light. Basically, how this one works is it's another session perk. Go figure. His whole build is about sessions, but the obsession gains is faster by a certain amount for unhooking and healing other survivors. Every time you hook someone other than your obsession, and the obsession is still alive, you gain a token. And as long as your obsession is alive, all other survivors who are not the obsession have a penalty. They get a penalty to repairing, healing, and sabotaging speeds. So basically, the more tokens you get, the slower they are at repairing, healing, and sabotaging. So it can be good, but it's also tricky to use. I feel bad for not doing anything with that person's invite, but it was kind of about them. by far the easiest killer to play as, besides maybe Freddy, in my opinion. Again, these four are pretty simple and easy. You will probably never get playing them. It's the one and only Wraith. The first character Orange ever got the bloody outfit, the full prestige outfit for. So basically, he's pretty simple. So he will start the match cloaked. Basically, while you're cloaked, you are undetectable and you move faster. You are also almost invisible. The only way for the survivors to see you is if they're really paying attention. They see, like, they do the classic video game invisibility where you can see them, but you kind of have to be looking for it because you'll see, like, it sort of being different. So it's kind of obvious, in that regard. But you are also faster while you're cloaked. But you can't attack. But you can interact with stuff, so you can kick gens and stuff while you're closed, break walls, stuff like that. And he has the wailing bell, which is how you use the power. So when you find a survivor, because you automatically start cloaked, you press and hold the power button to either recloak if you're not cloaked or to uncloak. Press and hold the power button again, basically it's a 1 second burst of speed upon reappearing. Obviously it's a second, so you're probably not going to notice it, and it can be heard up to a distance of 24 meters, but there's perks that will change that. Add-ons that will change that. He's very solid, very easy to play, very easy to understand and learn. He's super simple. Most players of this game, most of the knowledgeable users and stuff, agree that Wraith is a fantastic choice to start with. I just personally feel like there's other options besides Wraith that are good to start with. Wraith is great, but Doctor can be good sometimes. He's trickier though, so maybe don't start with Doctor, but he is an option. Trapper is also pretty hard, but he is an option. You can play any of them. I'm just thinking like simple and easy characters. Michael is definitely on that list. He's super fun and pretty simple and easy to learn. Bubba and Freddy are also on that list. Pig is probably not. Legion is also on that list for sure. Ghostface is another probably trickier one, like say Trapper and Doctor, but he could be a good place to start. Trickster as well, just because he has a lot of knives, he can do a lot with that and stuff. He gets a pretty big advantage. He does that, and then there's Nemesis as well, who he has the zombies for him. Nemesis is good because he has the other because he has the zombies, so they're good at. He's got a lot of stuff that can give him intel potentially, which makes him pretty solid. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know if there's any characters you think that are good for like beginners or simple and easy to learn that I didn't cover in this video in the comment sections below. If enough people want me to add someone like say Skill Merchant or Sadako or I don't know anyone else or just really anyone, I might do a part 2 and kind of explain my reasoning for why they could also be good choices. I've been going back and forth with a few people. I just feel like these characters, the ones that I talked about in this video, are pretty good overall. I might be biased with Freddy, but because of how bad I am, I do feel like he is a good starting point. But this video is getting really long, so I will end it there. Of course, a big reason why it's really long is because my computer was possessed or something earlier. I don't know what was happening. I need to look into getting rid of that. I'm going to put back a Deathslinger, because Deathslinger is great. He's not simple though. Do not start with Deathslinger. You will probably regret it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, ring the bell, do all the algorithmic garbage. It helps us out a lot, and it means a lot to us. If you want me to do more videos like this where I just talk about characters, let me know. And if you do want to see more, tell me something you would like to see with it. talking about easier characters was really all I could think of doing with it. But if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I would love to hear them. I will see you guys in the next video. That will do it for me, guys. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.